Andrew's question. So, okay. So let's jump back in the meeting and maybe we'll make a pause. One of the things that I did want to discuss in terms of sort of the initial report, chair report, would be what are we going to do about July and August? As we know, the new bylaws passed. That makes now July the same as August. So here's my read and my thoughts on this. First off, now for all the co-chairs for committees, now July and August is optional. So let me be clear, you can have a meeting. We don't preclude you from having a meeting, but it's an optional meeting. So that will be for every co-chair. I'll speak to myself at the end around steering and the full board, but that's going to be optional. Let me just be clear that for the month of June, if you have a meeting in June, that is going to continue to be fully remote this way, okay? Meaning the month of July is fully remote. August, that will change. What I'd like to do is we have an open meetings law conversation. I'd like to save August. I'd like to save Elizabeth's report and then save a little bit of thought. So we're not going to have 3 different conversations, but most likely you'll have the option to have a hybrid meeting in August, but put a pin on that for a minute. So what does that mean? Well, I was talking with Jesse and Max, and Jesse can talk a little bit about what we did last year. But what we've done in the past in August is, if there are transactional things of nature that have a timing issue, and I believe we did have a ULURP with Richard last year as well, that was a timing. We did one of 3 things. First off, the committees can meet in August or July, and you may have a series of things that passed. I had a letter from the chair, and I'll let Jesse speak after this, what both those departments asked us to do in August was send a letter saying that these were passed in the month of August at the committee level, that we are not going to be meeting at the full board level. So don't look at this as prejudice, but the next opportunity that we will be meeting will be September. And that sufficed for those 2 departments. Jesse, do you want to confirm that or add anything to it? And my feeling is that we will just do that to July as well. It'll be a little longer, but it worked. Jesse, do you want to add some thoughts?
I definitely confirm what you stated as sending a letter to support. Usually, from my experience, the only one we've seen are applications that require deadlines. And when it comes to, for instance, preservation committee, they sometimes hold off, or if it's something small, they'll go forward, but with a letter and a simple committee resolution should be suffice.
So that is my feeling that we will do for July and August. For ULURPs, Richard had a ULURP last year. We did 3 things. Number 1 is at Borough Board, I announced our committee level decision. Number 2, I believe we sent a letter, same letter into the agency stating this was done at a committee level with comments, but we would not be able to vote on full board till September. And then we voted on it September, and then I believe we put it into the ULURP. Again, tardy, but we were able to be heard. But that is what we did last year when I was chair for August. My feeling is that we will do them again for now, expand this to July and August. And Max and Jesse and I already started to prepare these letters to do so. So I could certainly open it up to questions or thoughts. But again, I think one of the things that's misunderstood is we do this every August. So now we're just doing it 2 months instead of 1 month. We're not inventing anything. It's not the first time we've done anything. We've done this. It's just 2 months. So if there's questions we can answer, or I don't know if I answered Andrew's questions, but that is what July and August will look like according to the past and according to conversations. Okay. So Elizabeth, I see your hands up.
Yes, my question is just counting for quorum for meetings in July, now that we have implemented the new policy, and how that is going to work. If somebody could explain that to committee chairs in particular. Thanks.
So there is no change in July. There is no new implementations. The new implementations will be in August, just so you know. The way that we've been running meetings is now extended to the end of July. So I just want to clarify that we'll continue to do things, and the way that we did quorum will be quorum for this. My suggestion is if we can put a pin, because I think there'll be several questions for us to talk about for the open meetings law. If we could put a pin in that and do that all at once at the end of these meetings, then we'll talk about all of them at once, because I think we'll go off in a lot of tangents, and I want to make sure we have a good conversation about that. But I'm prepared to answer that question at that time.
Thanks.
So just any other questions about July and August and how we're going to handle things? If not, we're going to get back into it, and that's what you're going to do, Andrew. We're going to, if they're ULURPs, then we'll address them. You'll work with Max and Jesse. We've done this before. We'll do it again. If we get a unique situation, then we'll figure it out. But I don't think we will, because I think we've done this, but I think that'll be the plan.
But have we done this with all city departments? Like, have we done this with DOT, for instance?
We haven't been in a position to have to do it with DOT, because I don't believe that there's ever been, the only place that we actually go in and vote is ULURP. Everything else can wait till September, if you're asking me. The only reason why we do the other two is because they're transactional in nature. It's preservation and it's BCI stuff. So they need a letter in order to move forward. But all our other resolutions, candidly, don't have a timing. We may want to be heard, but there's nothing. The only 3 ones that are land use, and those two that have a timing issue.
Yes.
And the point is, and I'm sure, listen, I was chair of YL, and yes, we came out. And when I was chair, we came out in July, and we would love to have voted it in August, but we had to wait till September. And that's what we did with the DOE. So that's what we'll do, unfortunately.
Right, but Steve, this would be passing something in June and waiting till September.
So you'll have to be twice as patient, but that, I'm just giving you the facts. We're just going to have to, it's not a new thing. It's just a new thing that it's a little longer, but it's not, we're not inventing anything.
As long as we don't lose our opportunity to be heard in a ULURP situation.
Well, Andrew, just check with DOT.
Yeah, I will, but I don't want to hurt Carmel Car Service because we're not meeting till, and the open streets thing. The other one is not time sensitive, but those two are.
So what we will do with the same thing we did with BCI, we will send a letter stating that at a committee level, this was approved. At Community Board 7, the opportunity to ratify this at the board level is September 7th. Please don't have any prejudice against that timing. And for the time being, view the committee level as a sense of the committee, whatever we want to say. I just again want to let you know that.
No, that sounds good.
10 of the 12 community boards in New York don't meet in July and August and work with everyone you're worried about this way. We are one of the few people that meet in July. So again, I know we all want to, but I think they're used to this process. Okay? Richard, you have your hands up?
Yeah, I mean, number one, if we got something really time sensitive, we could meet in July. And number two, what we found, at least in land use and the planning commission, is that they've been very sensitive to summer schedules, and I don't think have ever had a situation where the commission has voted on something that we haven't had a chance to provide our resolution. They know community boards don't meet in the summer, and they also know that there would be a tremendous outcry if they went ahead and did something before we had a chance to weigh in.
Thank you, Richard, and agreed on all points. So again, I think we've not done this, so there's a little bit of nervousness, but I can guarantee you that other community boards are doing it, and we'll figure it out. And I can tell you that the office is well organized to do so. And you can reach out to them directly, and they'll coordinate with me. But I believe that we'll be able to serve the community correctly. Okay. So I've got other things to say, but why don't we jump back in, because I paused. This was probably about 80% of what I wanted to talk about, but why don't we hand it back to yourself, Andrew, to finish, and then Max will continue to go down, and then we'll save Elizabeth's task force for a larger conversation about the OML stuff altogether. So is that your report, or is there a little
Yes,
bit
I'm
more?
finished. Thank you.
Yeah, we're finished.
Thank you. Okay.
Courtney and Blanche.
Great. Sorry to not be on camera. I'm kind of in transit right now. We had outgoing District 3 Superintendent Christine Laughlin on to talk about district needs and other things and updates in general for the year. And then we also circled back to talk about a topic we had back in December, which was scaffolding at schools. We passed a resolution that has a couple of different pieces to it, but fundamentally is about making sure that the 2 schools in our district who have had scaffolding up for 7 and 10 years don't have that does not happen again. So looking for both some ways to tactically prevent it and also asking some questions that perhaps need to be asked to kind of more broadly prevent it from happening to anyone in any district again. So that's what we have, and that'll hold. We will do the same. We'll do something similar. We'll send it out to the people who need to see it, and then that'll hold for September.
Courtney, you may want to mention that we are getting a resolution together regarding the whole question of scaffolding, not just scaffolding, but work on schools and setting timeframes and so on. So we will be getting that resolution, I guess, for September.
Yep. So that's it for YL.
Can I interject, guys? Very quickly, I'm very knowledgeable about FISP and local law 1198. And if I may be of help, when you're talking about sidewalk sheds, obviously, I'm here. I'm a good resource.
It's very different with DOE, Linda. It's a whole different story with DOE.
It may be so, but there's still the same criteria.
Great. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Next group.
Budget, Roberta.
Budget. So we've been working hard in June. We've been meeting with every committee that has district needs and or capital and expense budget items. The budget committee will be meeting in July to go over to start creating a list of the capital and expense budget needs, to start writing up some of the district needs so that we get a head start. And then we will be presenting a list at the September steering committee. We will hold a hearing. Steve, we need to talk to you about when we should hold the hearing, whether it should be before steering or a separate day. And to discuss what the budget and expense, the capital and expense budget items are. So this year we'll be slightly ahead of the process, which is good. And if you like, Max, I can also do the senior task force now.
Yeah, sounds good.
So the senior task force, thanks to Mark Jennings from Project Open and I'm sorry, Project Find, and Margaret Walters from Lighthouse Guild. We have 3 phenomenal forums in July 13th, July 20th, July 27th from 2 to 3:30. The flyer should be finished either tomorrow or Thursday, and I will be sending it to Max and Jesse to send to the whole board. It's called, it's on housing. So the first one is how to get affordable housing. The second forum is how to stay in affordable housing. And the third forum is how to thrive in affordable housing. When I suggested to the task force that we not meet in August, they said, no, we want to meet in August. So the senior task force will be meeting in August at the request of all the members. So that's my story.
That's a rarity, right? It's a rarity.
Roberta, where will these meetings be? The forums will be on Zoom. And Max has created the Zoom links. Okay, fine. And what we may do is we may ask a few of the senior centers if they could use their television or whatever their device is, so that seniors who don't have access to the internet could watch.
That's what I was thinking. Okay, fine.
Yeah, no, we're working on that. Right now, we've just tried to get the first phase, which was to get all the speakers lined up and the flyers going. And the next phase is to talk to some of the senior centers and see if they would be willing to. We picked the hour 2 to 3:30 because the senior centers have most of their programs either in the morning and lunch is finished, and at 2 to 3:30 is not a time when they're very busy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Public safety.
I don't know if you have anyone for public safety.
Why don't we skip right ahead? I don't mean to ambush you.
I'm on the public safety task force. We have not met in the last few weeks, so we have nothing to report that I'm aware of. Hopefully, we'll be meeting in the next couple of weeks, but right now, nothing new.
And I believe I talked with Polly last night. It's scheduled for the 29th.
What?
The 29th.
Okay.
I believe. Actually, I see Susan just joined. Why don't we go to bylaws? Not to ambush you.
Okay.
Right to the fire.
Yeah, that felt like an ambush. Thank you so much. Well, the bylaws astoundingly passed by a resounding margin, 30 to 15, I believe was what it was. It was 2 to 1. Thank you so much to everyone who was supportive of that. The 30 of you. Actually, I guess you're 29. I voted for it too. And that's that.
Look, I just, now that this is done, I wanted just to take a moment and thank Susan for her efforts. I know it was I know a lot of people had opinions, but I cannot tell you the amount of work Susan put into this and how passionate she was. And I will say this in public, it took an emotional toll on her. It was she really was a trooper. And regardless of where you stood on it, if you agreed or not agreed, but here we are, we should come together. But I think you have to acknowledge when somebody who's a volunteer puts in that type of hours and puts in that type of work and really, really was passionate about it. I just wanted to acknowledge her hard work, and I'm really impressed and proud of what she did, and I thank her. And hopefully the whole community board does as well.
Well, thank you very much. That's very kind. I have to say the task force, I'm just delighted that they're still speaking to me, mostly.
I guess that's a good thing. Roberta gets her meet in August, and your task force speaks to you. So,
Question: the bylaws go into effect as of when?
When it got voted in, so it's in effect now.
Okay, it's in effect now. Let me just add about Susan. In addition to her diligence and timing and so on, it was done with great grace, which I certainly appreciate. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Blanche. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Max, are we? I'm not sure.
We are now to Elizabeth.
All right. Well, let's jump into this topic in general, and then Elizabeth can talk within that as well. So, an email went out about open meetings laws. Here's what we need to do as a group. As it turns out, it's very quirky, but part of the law that was passed is that every community board has to then just confirm yes or no, are you going to do hybrid meetings? And that is a gating factor. So we community boards have to vote and say, we will do hybrid meetings moving forward. That's step one. Step two would be, what are hybrid meetings look like and the nuances of that. That is an ongoing conversation that Elizabeth is leading. That is a conversation that she can tell you about. There's a meeting next week. And that is something that we can work over the next couple, sooner rather than later, but we have time to work out, and I can give some thoughts on that. But that first part of literally just saying we are approving hybrid meetings is preferred to be done first. And that is what I'm asking us to vote on at steering today. Not anything specific about hybrid meetings, only that we are going to adopt the law and have the ability, but not required, to do hybrid meetings. Max,
Move,
can you
move
pull
the
that up?
resolution.
We sent it out and I'm gonna have Max pull it up, so.
Stephen,
Yeah.
can you explain what the consequence of not adopting this resolution is? Exactly what happens if we don't adopt it?
The way that it's explained to me is we don't adopt it, then we can't do hybrid meetings in August.
And we have to be in person, in other words.
Well, you guys should know that starting August 1st, that we either have to be in person or have hybrid meetings starting August 1st.
So the status quo is not an option.
100% Zoom is no longer an option.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to move the resolution and ask for a
There's some
second.
hands up. There's some hands up, but I want Max just to pull it up first, and then we're gonna.
But I think we should move the resolution, second it, and then discuss it if necessary.
Understood, Shelley. I just wanted to let Max
Okay.
continue. So this is very, very simple. All we are saying is therefore it is resolved that Manhattan Borough will institute open meetings and member procedures provided by the New York State Open Law 56 of law of 2022, which is basically we're adopting it. Max, I am going to now say, because it was a little bit, aren't we supposed to say that we are going to adopt hybrid meetings?
I felt that was implicit in the law, but we could add that into the resolution. Absolutely.
I think you should add it into the resolution that we
If the borough president has asked us to support something, and again, I've run this task force for 6 months now, I think the resolution as it stands should be voted on if the question has been called. I think nuancing this anymore is going to lead to issues. So let's vote
I
on
have a
this.
question that is very important that I think needs to be answered before we vote, if that's okay. And
100%.
my question is, are we going to adopt the procedure that the MTA is now using, which is you must have a quorum in person? People can continue to be on Zoom, but the quorum itself must be in person. Are we adopting that, or are we just doing the loose adoption of what this resolution says? And our quorum would be either in person or on Zoom.
You're both asking two different types of conversations. So I thank you, Elizabeth, but I would like to make sure that the resolution is accurate the way it should be accurate. Andrew, I'll answer your conversation. And again, we're not being told to do anything. We're said that we are required by law to do this. That's what we've been told, and that's why we're doing it. That's why I said there's a little miscommunication. We're told legally we need to do this, this. And what I'm trying to do is make it as minimum as possible. So Elizabeth, you can lead and put whatever you want in. You should know that other community boards have 4-page resolutions. We're doing 2 lines. So we're trying to do the minimum amount in order to do so. So Max, I'm asking you to add the part about we'll institute open meetings procedures and institute hybrid meetings. You have to put the word hybrid meetings in there based on my conversations.
Sure, it can do. First, I will quickly add that I think like 9 out of the 12 boards in Manhattan have so far passed this, and the rest are about to any day, more or less. Steve, where did you want me to add that?
And just put at the end, and adopt hybrid meetings. That's it.
Okay.
So this is the minimum. This is us as a community board saying that a law went forward and we're going to do it. It doesn't mean we have to meet with hybrid meetings. It doesn't require we do anything. It simply now gives us the options.
I second it.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it says it will adopt hybrid meetings.
That's right. You have to claim if you're going to do hybrid meetings or not hybrid meetings.
Okay.
That's what we're saying. It doesn't say you have to do them. So if you want to put it, but you have the option to do hybrid meetings. So perhaps you're right, Elizabeth. Can we change the word hybrid to adopt to something else?
And have the option of adopting hybrid meetings.
Mhm.
It's fine.
The option to hold.
Second the amendment.
Okay.
Call the question?
Sounds great.
Yeah, we can make that.
Just to be clear, and have the, sorry about
It's,
that.
we're going to
Option.
the option to adopt hybrid meetings.
There we go.
Well, I think we want to have the option to conduct hybrid meetings, right?
Good job. Good job.
Great.
Mhm.
And
Thank
is
you.
the
guys.
quorum,
Thank you guys. Thank
is
you
the
very
quorum
much.
in person though?
I'm going to answer that question next because it's
Okay.
irrelevant to what we're doing right now, to be candid, Andrew, but I will answer your question.
Call the question.
So let's vote on this if we're all comfortable. Everyone who wants to support this, please do so. Raise your hand.
Could
Okay,
we take down the resolution? It's hard to
yeah.
see.
Seema,
Thank
welcome
you.
back. You were missed yesterday, but
Yeah, sorry.
no problem. So let's look at the digital. I know Blanche, are you raising your digital hand?
Yes.
Okay, so Blanche and I are more physical added to the digital.
That rhymes, by the way.
Well, you know, every here and there I can get like a bard at
I think
practice.
that's 20.
20. Can we lower the hands? Wait, I don't know. Christian normally helps me. So wait, I don't know if Christian's a co-host today, but if you hold off, I'll lower the hands. Everyone, nobody touched the things. Okay, anybody against? I'm going to go quickly. Anybody abstaining? Anybody for cause? Okay, this went by. The next thing that I'll say is answer Andrew's question, and then I'll hand it to Elizabeth to talk about her meeting that's next week. It is not an option. I can't speak for the MTA, but there are two requirements of the law that are, we don't have the option. Then there are a series of things that can be adopted that Elizabeth and her task force will decide. The two gating factors for having a hybrid meeting is this. You have to have a quorum of the committee in person. So if there's 10 people in the committee, 6 have to be in person. I'm going to be over 7, it's 8, it's 5, 4. You have to have a quorum in person. The second part is that if you're going to if you're not going to show up and you're going to be remote, you have to apply. You can't just say, hey, I'm not showing up. You have to then send in a predetermined letter, email, and you have to get approval to do so. There are recommendations coming from the Manhattan Borough President of what should be approved and what will not be approved. Again, that's a conversation for Elizabeth and the task force that's going to work through. But those are the two things that you need to know happen. That number one, that you have to have a quorum to conduct a hybrid meeting. And number two, you have to have a letter stating that you are approved not to vote. So you can vote if you have the letter and you're remote. If you don't have the letter and you're remote, you cannot vote. And technically, you're not there.
That answered my question. Thank you.
I don't know what the law, I don't know what the rules are with the MTA, so.
Well, the quorum in person is the same. Thank you.
Quickly. Yeah, I'm happy to, if Linda, unless you have is your hand still up with a question?
I have a question. So just to clarify something, at committee level, not full board, at committee level, do we have to have an in-person quorum?
Yes, and that's why attendance is going to become even more important and something we need to talk about, because if you are going to have some people not show up, some people not show up at all, it's going to affect it. So we have to have a conversation about attendance, because I know that it was a challenge the last 3 to 6 months for certain committees, including yours, and it's going to become even more of an issue. But I'm going to pause there and hand it off to Elizabeth to talk about the work she's going to be doing and the task force.
Sure, and I'll keep this really brief. You know, I'd happy to answer a question or two, but I'd really like everyone to join us next Tuesday night, so a week from tonight, on this very night, 5:30, just before I think it's Shelley's meeting, right beforehand, to join us for more questions. But here's the deal, and the board office has been fantastic in working with us, and as Steve has been as well. Look, here's the situation. We have a requirement starting very soon that 50% of any full board meeting or a committee meeting needs to be conducted in person. So that means if you have a committee of 7 people, those of you who are on steering, 4 of you need to be in person, starting, I believe, in September when we start conducting our meetings again. If you don't have that, you don't have a quorum and you can't vote. People also need to be cognizant of what I think one of the questions we're trying to resolve on our task force is really what constitutes an absence. As you all know, thanks to Susan and her work on the bylaws committee, we now meet 10 times out of the year and not 11. And we also get, I believe, 3 absences, which means you can be absent, but you can't vote. Okay. So for people who are sick, these are all issues that are coming up on the task force. If you're sick, what constitutes, if you're running a meeting but you're sick, can you dial in and be there virtually? You know, if you are part of the non 50% group, those are all things that I think there are issues that I'd love to hear from you all as committee chairs. Now that we're on this steering committee call, what constitutes an excused absence when you really need somebody from your committee to be there in a meeting? And those are the types of things we're going to be discussing, and things that aren't going to be resolved tonight, but things that, again, I'm grateful for Max and Jesse and obviously Stephen for helping guide us through over the course of the summer as we figure this out. But we've got to get it settled by September. And we've got to think about creative ways that we can get this done. And that's why we're doing our task force meetings. So thanks.
Thanks, Elizabeth. So there's some hands up and we'll figure if it's for you or me or whatever it is, but we'll just go through. Christian?
Next Tuesday is primary day. I've run a poll site, so I cannot attend the meeting, but I will watch the recording later and send in my comments to you, Elizabeth, and questions, okay?
Thank you, Christian. Seema?
I think you alluded to this, Elizabeth. I was just wondering, so will your committee be the one that comes up with the criteria for these virtual attendances and also the absences? And also, who will be the decision maker to grant, that?
It's a great question, Seema, and we have not heard a lot from the Borough President's Office. We hope that we will get some guidance from them, and I'm sure we will. Until then, they've really been relying on us. So I think Community Board 7 has been great so far. We've put forward some ideas, even when the pandemic started, about doing Zoom meetings that I think CB7 was really at the forefront of. And I think we can continue to do that. So this is an opportunity. I see this as an opportunity for us. Again, we're meeting next Tuesday virtually. And then, I think we may meet again in July, but I think the Borough President's Office has been very receptive to us trying to present some ideas that have worked. And I think creatively, all of you are committee chairs and people who know what works and what doesn't. And we'd love your input and hope you can join us. Even if it's not next Tuesday, you can email the board office or myself with any questions. Thanks.
And then just to add, there has been some guidance. It's been choppy. So what I can do, Elizabeth, is work with Max just to put together a cohesive thing. If you like, I could send it out to the steering committee, and then we'll keep an eye for anything between the two to add to that, so that it's sort of laid out in terms of what they put out. They have put out some, they haven't done it in a cohesive manner. So we'll coordinate it for you. But we will still have to make some decisions. Okay, Louisa? Your hand's up. Is that a mistake? The way that your facial expression, I think it was an accident.
You're muted.
I'm sorry, I didn't have. That is a mistake. Thank you. I didn't even see
Lisa,
it.
you were missed yesterday, so thank you very much. But we certainly wanted to say we missed your presence.
Thank you. I would have really liked to be there, but this was something that had been set up a long time ago.
Understood. Just wanted to send a pleasant note. And Kay, you were missed as well, although you seem like you're in a very nice place based on some pictures I saw. But let's have you ask your question.
I'm on the Upper West Side, but the Upper West Side of New Hampshire.
Yeah.
My question's quick and I can take really the answer on Tuesday, but I just want to throw it out there. Obviously for preservation, we have 3 to 5, sometimes 6 presentations with multiple presenters. And I guess my question that I'll be pondering with you is, how should those presentations be made? Should they be made virtually or should they be in person? So like I say, I don't need the answer now, but we're going to.
I can give my thoughts if things haven't changed, but what I can tell you is that we've always been told that it's not mandatory for the public or presenters to be at a hybrid meeting. The only standards are 2 things. You have to have a quorum in person and you have to let anybody who wants to come in, come in. I think Elizabeth, perhaps you could double check that as well, but that's my understanding and I don't believe that's changed.
That is correct. And it means for a committee meeting, it means until further notice, unless things have changed. And Max, you're there. So I see you're in the board office right now. It's in the board office. So 50% plus 1 from your committee needs to be in the board office for a meeting to have a quorum to be able to vote.
Correct. We're in agreement. Douglas.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify one thing that Elizabeth said. It's really a question. My understanding is that the open meetings law everything that we do through July is how we're doing it, how we've been doing it up to this point. But in August, if committees wish to meet, is that 50% plus 1 applying? Because Elizabeth said September, but I think it actually starts in August, if I'm not mistaken.
I was basing this on the fact that our bylaws had changed, so we aren't meeting in July and August. But obviously, if committees are meeting in July or August, that changes the game plan. So maybe Max or Stephen can.
I can clarify. The clarifying is in July, we can still meet completely Zoom. I mean, June. So till the end of June, I'm sorry, to the end of June, all meetings are Zoomed. To the end of July, all meetings are Zoomed. But starting in August 1st, we would then go to hybrid meetings. And you would need, if a committee wanted to meet in August, you'd have to have half of them a quorum in person in order to vote. And then if you would have to have a letter done by then to be excused. August.
Got it. Thank you. Thanks for clarifying.
Linda?
Hi, are there going to be mask requirements? That's my first question. If we've got a crowd, because we often have a lot of folks who like to attend the applications, they have concerns about the restaurants, etc. Can we ask them to wear masks? The second thing is, what if people have COVID? I mean, they can't be there and we may lose a quorum. Is there any kind of exception? I mean, let's be real. We're at moderate. We're not low here on the Upper West Side.
So do you want to answer, Elizabeth? Do you want me to answer? However you want to do. Well, you're muted now, Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, you're muted.
I am. I understand that. I'm happy to answer the question. Look, I agree. To answer your second question first, those who do have medical issues, who feel uncomfortable coming to a meeting, one of the things that I think was not mentioned on this call tonight is that all meetings also need to be live streamed. So anyone from the public can join a meeting virtually. And correct me if I'm wrong, Max and Stephen, but that is something that you guys have worked really hard to try to make sure we can do. It's going to be very difficult to do that. It's easier to do it at the full board office when we have committee meetings. It's harder to do it for full board meetings when we don't know everyone has the capability of how we're going to handle that. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it, and come join us on Tuesday night to discuss it. But for committee meetings, that's an option for people. So masks, I can't speak to. I don't know what the city rules are. And I think, those who are employed by the city, Max, Jesse, and Stephen, the chair of the board, can answer that question better than I can.
We would have to double check, because the last time we looked at the requirements is when we were trying to do an in-person meeting. What I can tell you that is at the time, we could only do what you're legally allowed to do. So we couldn't have standards above and beyond. So at that time, we could not require people in order to come in to be vaccinated. That wasn't something we could do. I don't believe at the second time it happened, we couldn't even require to have them show something. So we're going to have to update that. But as a whole, Linda, we're allowed to have standards that the community board wants to meet. I'd be surprised if we couldn't do masks, but honestly, I don't even know the most up-to-date standard of mask wearing and requirements. So we'll have to look into that. And then I think your point was more about quorum. And the issue is, if you're saying that somebody has COVID,
right,
and also they could have an excuse and join remotely, but if they can't, but the answer is right now, there is no exception. There is no exception. It is what it is. That's my understanding.
And Linda, again, I just want to add, Shelley and Mark and I have been coming up with, we've had a meeting where we talked about sort of what constitutes and what should constitute. And if we do want to present something to the full board at some point, maybe in September, as we head into the fall, about what constitutes, the new bylaws say that you can get 3 absences, right? Which are non-voting absences, right? You can't vote. You have a certain number of meetings at the when you join and when you are excused based on medical and other reasons. We obviously want to protect public safety at all costs, right? The question is how we balance that both at the full board level for board members, for the 50 of us who are on the board, how we balance that for the 50 of us who go to committee meetings. And those are the issues right now. Those are the issues that we're talking about. I don't think tonight is the night to talk about it, but I think it's a really important meeting. If any of you can join or send us feedback between now and next Tuesday.
I have a business obligation, and I am meeting in person. I'm not saying that, but it's still, the board office, by the way, if we've got a crowd, I mean, you have to wear a mask on the subway, but 60% of the riders don't.
I just want to be clear on that. I don't know the answer to your question.
Right.
I'm not saying you can wear a mask or not. I don't know the answer. I don't want to say something that's false. I don't know the answer to your question.
But it's just we can't even request it.
But Steve, I heard that if it's in a when I went to the borough board for you, I heard that if it's in a location that if it's at the community board, we can't require proof of vaccination or mask. But if it's at and I'm not sure about masks, you can't require proof of vaccination. But if it's at a venue, then you have to do whatever the venue requires. So if the venue requires vaccinations, then everybody goes.
I don't think that's true. And that's why I don't want to pass on half information. Let us look into it and follow up. We're just guessing, and it's just going to start a rumor mill. So I understand your question, and we're going to answer it. We've got some more people, and I do have another section that I want to talk about. So let's keep going through. Barbara?
Yeah, last night's event, which was very lovely, was the very first event I have been to with a crowd in over 2 years. I am hoping that that we can be something of renegades here, if for lack of a better word. I think people should have to be wearing masks. We don't know if people are vaccinated or if they are not vaccinated. I have to look out for my health, and I'm sure that actually everybody my age has to be very cognizant of how close they are to somebody else. And you keep hearing that COVID's not going away anytime soon. There's a lull for the summer, but they expect it will be back bigger and better than ever in the fall. So let's get real, guys. And I think that Community Board 7 can stick their neck out a little bit, our necks out.
Okay. I really like to move forward. I know now if Louise and Doug, do you guys think you could do your questions at Elizabeth's meeting? I feel we're talking about stuff that's really meant for that. And we really just wanted to pass this. And I have a section with Bev that we're really excited to present, and it's getting later. But if you have something, but really these conversations are appropriate for that. We really did not want to spend a lot of time talking about these things because that's why we have a task force. But if you feel you need to say it, go ahead. Otherwise, I'd really like to introduce
I
Bev.
heard Mark Levine say that they got that in the law that we can ask for masks, not vaccinations, but we'll confirm. I'll shut up.
Let's bring that up for Elizabeth's meeting next week. So I think we're done here on this. And again, this was just an appetizer for Elizabeth's meeting, but we did what they were telling us was a requirement. So that's done. The one piece of new business I did want to bring up is a program that I've been talking about with Bev. A couple of things people should realize is that we now have several let me take this back. I had talked about in the last meeting and how, the desire to bring in new members. How do we get new members comfortable talking? How do we get new members in leadership? And I think we wanted to work on a program. We were working on perhaps a more traditional Big Brother mentor program. And I think Beverly really came forward with an incredible idea. And she does this based on her background, her leadership. I want her to present it. But the idea was, I will tell you a fact. When I spoke to almost all of the new members, almost to a T, they said they felt very uncomfortable talking at Zoom meetings. They felt a combination of intimidated, not welcome, that whether you realize it or not, very subtly, we are not doing a good job embracing them. And that really stood out for me. And these are people that are like VPs of very big companies, So I think that was a stark reality to me. The other part is I think we want to help them ingratiate and become leaders quickly, because part of our bylaws is we're going to be transitioning a handful of new chairs next at the end of the year. I think I looked, it's up to 4 or 5. So how do we get members how do we get new members in a position of leadership? So what Bev has put forward and what we talked about was creating a leadership task force. This is something she has a lot of experience for, and I'm going to let her introduce this, but I think it's a great idea. I'm super excited to do something new. And when I say new, and to address this, but I'm telling you, I was shocked to hear people say, and I say, why don't you speak more? Like, I don't feel comfortable. And that's not a good thing from our community board if we're not making people feel comfortable. So with that, I wanted to have Bev talk about it. We're going to create a leadership task force. Bev is going to lead that, and she's going to walk you through that. And we're going to spend the next couple months working through this. And I'm going to hand it off to Bev.
Hi. Yeah, I had suggested this to Steve some time back because it seemed to me that certainly when I came on board, it was 3 years ago now, almost. It took some real time to figure out which way how things worked. And I just felt that there was a better way to bring people in to prepare them. When I was working at New Visions for Public Schools, I ran for about 10 years a leadership development program, which was for teachers who wanted to become school supervisors, either APs or principals. And I learned a lot from that. And I think having a forum where relatively new people coming in have a chance to express their concerns, help shape what a program should look like, and generally to think about what their experience is together is a great way to do things. What I had thought that makes sense is to meet with those from the last 2 cohorts hired over the summer and understand what they saw as a program model that would be supportive of them, and then try to produce the detail for that program by fall and present it to the board at that time. Again, it's something that should focus on our 2 newest cohorts who've really been the victims of the Zoom era and who have had, therefore, much more difficulty integrating into the way the board works. So that's really about it. I think the details should come from them. And this should be designed with them and presented then back to the board come fall.
Thanks, Bev. And I think the one also thing to include is I think that the plan is to include the office, to have Max and Jesse kind of as new leaders of our office to be involved as well. So I thought that was an exciting aspect as well. Great. So I think the timing's right because we've got this, we're going to have to be making these decisions in the fall, and it's the right time to sort of empower, this is, to really be thinking about how to get our leaders of the future. And I'm super excited about it. And Bev's really, I've seen some of the work. She's understating what she's going to put together, but I'm pretty impressed by it. So we've got a couple hands up, and I'll call on Linda first and then Roberta.
Two things. I had the best mentor. When I joined the board 100 years ago, I had the best mentor in the world. It was Barbara Adler, and she walked me through everything. And at different times, we have had a mentorship program, which I think is great. Bev, I'm just going to throw my hat in there. I'm available. I will make myself available if you need some other participants.
Thank you very much.
Roberta.
I think it's great. We had a mentorship program. Hope Cohn, when she was chair, had a mentorship program. And when I was chair, I brought it back in. And so the mentors, which you can't do on Zoom, the mentors would sit, when the new member came in, they would sit with the new member and they would, fill them in on stuff. And so, when someone was talking about DOT, they would say, oh, that's Department of Transportation. You could show people how to vote and how to help. But I think this is great. And we're in the process of revising the new members handbook, Bev. So maybe you want to take a look with me at it and see if we want to make some major changes to that as well.
I think it'd be great to have one of the newer members help with that handbook as well.
Yes.
So they can guide on that.
It's a great point, Elizabeth. Thank you. Okay, well, let's leave on a big warm fuzzy hug with Bev, and we're all excited. And I wanted to say what I would have started out. What a pleasure to see many of you yesterday. I saw my picture and I just noticed everyone's smiling. And I said, oh my God, that's so different than Zoom. That's what I put in my thing. I'm like, every person was smiling. I'm like, what's the odds of that ever happening? So I had to send it out, but it was great to see everyone. It was super exciting. Some of you unfortunately didn't make it, but we'll have to do it in the future, but you were well sort of missed. I did see, Christina, did you want to say something? I did see your hand go up at the last minute. I wasn't sure if that was.
Sorry about that. Sorry to cut you off, Steve. I just want to say it was such a pleasure meeting so many of you yesterday. I was so excited to get to spend that time with you. Thank you, Steve and Jesse, Ashley, the team who organized it, who put that together. It was very special and meaningful. And the last thing that I wanted to say was, Bev, I am happy to be the newer member who takes a look at the handbook and supports in that way.
Great. Well, and Christina closed the place with us. So, it's not the traditional closing that I'm used to, but we were there late. So, but again, what a great way to sort of end the summer. And we'll have to do this more in the future, but I'm telling you, I never seen so many community boards smile in about 3 years. So it was a pleasure to see. So,
but it was begin the summer, not end the summer.
Well, begin the summer, end the year, begin the summer. But it was a good time had by all. But when I looked at that picture, I'm like, there's not a single scowl in here. I've got to put that out. So I thought that resonated. Let's call the meeting to end. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day and appreciate everyone's support.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a great summer. Bye-bye.